So-called progressives, don't flatter yourselves. You regard yourselves as a voice for change, reform, even revolution. But your chosen candidate is Joe Biden, the most corrupt politician in US history. So, this is your idea of change, of something new? A sleazy buffoon best known for plagiarism. A man who stands for nothing and will say anything for favors. A man who uses his office to coerce a foreign government to fire its prosecutor to aid his son's looting operation? With reform like that, who needs corruption? What are you so-called progressives progressing toward? Machine politics run by insiders and sycophants? You so-called progressives regard yourselves as a force for racial justice. Yet, under Clinton, you supported the incarceration of the largest numbers of blacks. In New York, you supported stop-and-frisk policies that targeted black men. You so-called progressives claim to care for economic justice. Yet, you supported globalism that hollowed out the American working class, especially impacting the black community in small towns. You used gentrification to drive out blacks from cities so you could have your posh districts and hipster neighborhoods. Even as the rich got richer and the poor got poorer, you progressives worked with insiders of both parties to increase your portfolios. You virtue signaled to cover up your greed and vanity. You support mass immigration to undercut the bargaining chip of the American worker and to replace urban blacks with what you deem as a more docile workforce. You so-called progressives claim to be for world peace. But under Bill Clinton, you supported the killing of 500,000 Iraqi children by sanctions. Madeleine Albright said it was worth doing so. Under Obama and Hillary, you supported the bombing of Libya that led to open slave markets and the destruction of the richest nation in Africa. You supported the Obama regime's use of Al-qaeda terrorists to ignite a war inside Syria that cost 400,000 lives. You were silent about Obama regime's recruitment of neo-Nazis in Ukraine to bring down a democratically elected government. You consented to more wars and invasions. When it's your guy in power, you don't care how many nations are invaded and destroyed. A bunch of hypocrites. You so-called progressives claim to be for freedom of speech, transparency, and whistleblowers. And yet, you stood by while Obama's regime prosecuted the highest number of whistleblowers in U.S. history. You supported the persecution of Edward Snowden, who exposed the extent to which the deep state violates civil liberties. You warn of neo-McCarthyism, but you pumped up unprecedented paranoia with the bogus Russian collusion narrative. You knowingly spread hysteria and hatred. And when Trump tried to end wars in Syria and Iraq, you so-called progressives sided with the deep state and the military-industrial complex to keep the wars going. What a bunch of phonies. So, stop flattering yourself. You so-called progressives aren't truly progressive. It's just a mask to hide your ugly self. You're about real as a $3 bill. Corrupt Biden and sleazy Harris are your ideal candidates because your wealth and privilege thrive in the swamp of political entrenchment. And please stop telling us you care so much about blacks. Just how has defunding the police helped the black community? Many more blacks were murdered since May because you so-called progressives ordered cops to stand down, thereby giving green light to the criminal elements to shoot more innocent people. Stare honestly in the mirror for a change and realize that you are nothing but phonies. Don't be so smug. Virtue signaling is not real virtue.